With our current weather conditions, it takes a real expert to create landscape that'll thrive. Riedel's Garden Center has the staff with the expertise of water requirements for plants, lawns, and landscapes that'll stand up to our changing weather conditions. With 25 years of hands-on experience, owner Darren Riedel will customize a landscape design and irrigation system to meet your expectations and our climate. It's recommended to protect your lawn using Fertilome products available at Riedel's Garden Center, an authorized dealer. Call or stop by Riedel's Garden Center today.
Oh, what a beautiful day this is. Welcome to the Green and Growing Show, and welcome to my garden. I am Margie Hammerschmidt, an Extension Master Gardener, and we're here today to talk about peonies. Peonies are one of my favorite all-time plants. They are one of the best known herbaceous plants due to their beauty, their carefree nature, and their longevity. If well situated, a peony can bloom for over a century. That's 100 years of bloom. So it's worth spending a little time up front, making sure you have them in the right location and you've prepared the soil. Peonies really require at least 6 hours of uninterrupted daylight to bloom. They also need to have a well-drained soil environment. But given those things, they will bloom. If they end up being in the shade, the plants will do well, but you'll have less and less bloom. I have planted some peonies under a redbud tree, my favorite peony, pillow talk, but over the years the shade tree has gotten larger, and so I'm getting less bloom, but I'm still enjoying the plant just as a nice backdrop plant. If provided good growing conditions, really the only diseases that peonies will have is botrytis. Botrytis is a fungal disease that lives in the soil, most soils, and it only presents a problem with peonies if it's been a cool, damp season, if the plant is weak otherwise, or if there's other affected plants nearby. It'll present itself with the blackened buds and blackened stems, and then down at the soil line, the plant will just start decaying. So go ahead and remove those affected parts of the plants. Discard them in the trash, not in your compost bin. And then in the fall, just do a good fall cleanup, is what you should do anyway for all peonies. Go ahead and cut off all the foliage after the plant has gone dormant in the fall, and remove all of that from the plant. Rabbits do not like peonies, so if you're bothered with rabbits like I am in my yard, get to planting peonies. Rabbits don't like blousy flowering plants. They don't like peonies, they don't like irises, they don't like oriental poppies. So it's a good choice if you're troubled with rabbits. If you purchase your peony roots, you can plant them in the spring or in the fall, although I do still recommend planting in the fall. Prepare a planting hole 12 to 18 inches deep. Work the sides just a little bit. Add a shovelful of compost into the planting hole, a large handful of all-purpose organic fertilizer, and then another shovelful of your original planting soil. Mix that up, and then at the bottom of your planting hole, prepare a cone of large, tall cone. Place your peony root on top of that with the roots hanging down, and then this step is critical. Be sure that the growth eye, the eye of the peony, will end up no lower than 1 to 2 inches below your final soil line. This, if it ends up being lower, you will get few, if any, blooms. Then add your soil back around, add water, make sure you have good root-soil contact, and keep an eye on where the height of that growth bed. You may need to raise that as you're adding that soil back in so that it's no higher than your 1 to 2 inches below your final soil line. Firm that and water it in really well. Peonies prefer not to be moved. They really don't need to be moved. Sometimes they outgrow their planting beds, and so you do need to divide them. Sometimes you might just want to give starts of your favorite to your neighbor or to your daughter. The best time to do that is in the fall after the plant has gone dormant. Go ahead and cut off all the foliage. Dig around that root ball carefully and lift it. Be real careful with the roots. They're really brittle at the bottom. Cut off a slice of the peony root. Be sure to include at least 3 to 5 of the growth nodes. You can cut off more if you want to start with a larger plant, and go ahead and plant those according to the instructions I gave, and then go ahead and put the original, if you want to keep it in the same place, back into the hole. Just be sure to water it well, and be sure that it doesn't drop lower than that 1 to 2 inches below the final soil line. Plant the peonies 2 to 3 feet apart. That's the distance that they prefer so that they get good air circulation. You can plant or fertilize your peony plants in the spring with compost or an all-purpose fertilizer. Just sprinkle that across the top of it and kind of dig it into the soil just a bit. If you have them in a planting bed where you also have mulch, be sure that your mulch isn't covering the plant, the peony plant, because if it is, effectively, it's adding to that depth of soil that's above those eyes, and so you'll get less and less blooms. That's what's happened with my favorite plant, my pillow talk. I believe I've gotten mulch over it, and so it's blooming less this year, plus the fact that it's underneath a shade tree that's just growing a little bit more. Your big bomb peonies like this really do require support. During a spring rain, if they don't have this support underneath them, they will just drop to the ground because those heads are quite heavy. There's so many petals. So the best time to put the support in is in the spring when the new growth, that real pretty red growth is coming up. Place your support at that time, and then as the peonies start growing, go ahead and just weave that into the supports until that they eventually end up being covered with the lush foliage from the plant. There's hundreds of varieties of peonies on the market, and they keep coming out with more and more. It's fun to watch. There's the traditional looking blossoms. There's also spiders, semi-doubles, lots of new colors, corals and yellows. There's also several types of peonies. These are the traditional herbaceous or bush peonies. These die back to the ground every fall and come up fresh in the spring. There's also a tree peony, which is woody stems. They lose their foliage in the fall, but the stems stay above ground. In the spring then, the foliage comes back on again. And they're actually one of the first peonies to bloom in the spring. And they have really pretty colors that you typically don't see on an herbaceous. And then there's a cross between the peony and the herbaceous, and it's called an itoh. That's spelled I-T-O-H, or intersectional peony. They usually stay lower. They're more of a bush. But they also have an extended bloom time and really pretty colors that typically you won't see on an herbaceous plant. Even the herbaceous peonies have different bloom times. So if you want to extend your blooming time, you could select early blooming, mid blooming, and late blooming. I'm often asked about the ants that are on the peony buds. I don't worry about them at all. They're attracted to the bud because of this sugary substance that's being exuded from the bud. But once that bud starts to open into the bloom, the plant or the ants go away. The best time to cut the bloom to enjoy indoors is when the bud is just starting. You can start seeing the color, and the petals are a little bit looser. If you squeeze that bud, it feels kind of like a marshmallow, maybe a hard marshmallow. A bud that's too tight to cut feels like a marble. It's just really hard. If you cut it at that stage and bring it inside, it never really will open up for you to enjoy. So cut it early in the morning at this stage. Shake off any remaining ants. Bring it indoors in a vase of cool water for your enjoyment. You can also cut some stems at this stage also. Bring them inside, take off the foliage, wrap them tightly with plastic, and lay them down in a cold refrigerator, even up to several weeks. Then when you're ready to enjoy the blossom inside, you can unwrap it, cut off the stem a couple of inches, and put it in a vase of warm water, and you'll be able to enjoy that blossom inside. If you have any more questions about peonies, would like more information, contact your horticulture agent at your local extension office. And next, we're going to be hearing from Stacy Minson. This is Stacy Minson, KSU Watershed Specialist.
Hi, thank you, Margie. Well, we're going to talk about rain barrels. Here in the city of Hays and in this region, we've been building rain barrels for about 6 years, and we have over 6,500 rain barrels and or kits out. The idea of the rain barrel is when we have drier climates, drier periods of time, we've captured the water coming off of our roofs, going into the barrels so that we can use the water in our landscapes, in our yards, our gardens, our flowers. So for my side of it on water quality issue, we're capturing this water during a storm event. The water is staying here, and we're not seeing runoff of stormwater pollutants, which would be nitrogen, phosphorus from extra fertilizer in lawns, and then sediment if we've had some construction or we have some bare spots in our yards, and then also bacteria, especially in our home yards from pet waste if we haven't picked up pet waste. So the rain barrels are 55-gallon plastic. Everything is included from the screen to the overflow to the valve. You can put it up on cinder blocks, connect it to a garden hose, and you have a great system. So basically this downspout would just be cut, and this would set on top so the water would flow right into the rain barrel. We have rain barrels available still. You can call the Ellis County Extension Office here in Hayes at 785-628-9430. And there's information that comes with it, and the barrels are ready to go.
Thank you, Stacy. Reporting for K-State Research and Extension and Eagle TV, this has been Stacy Minson, KSU Watershed Specialist, and Margie Hammerschmidt, Extension Master Gardener.
With our current weather conditions, it takes a real expert to create landscape that'll thrive. Riedel's Garden Center has the staff with the expertise of water requirements for plants, lawns, and landscapes that'll stand up to our changing weather conditions. With 25 years of hands-on experience, owner Darren Riedel will customize a landscape design and irrigation system to meet your expectations and our climate. It's recommended to protect your lawn using Fertilome products available at Riedel's Garden Center, an authorized dealer. Call or stop by Riedel's Garden Center today.